On Christmas morning, I asked, "Did I get a gift?" Mom said, "We don't give presents to ungrateful people." My brother laughed. "Santa skipped you on purpose." I just nodded and walked away. The next day, he cried, "I need $80,000 to save my business." I smiled, asked Santa, "Imagine this. Christmas morning, amidst the festive scent of pine, someone tells you, you're ungrateful. After a lifetime as the family's silent orchestrator, their dependable problem solver. What then?" The very next morning, the same person who had openly mocked you appears on your doorstep, pleading for $80,000. What in that exact moment do you do? My name is Evan. I'm 32. For the vast majority of my existence, I've been the quiet force, the rock-solid, dependable presence, easily overlooked until a crisis emerged. A last-minute ride, a forgotten login, a crucial signature. I was the default solution. You understand the archetype, don't you? My profession is IT, nestled within a small community hospital. Amend wayward printers, decrypt forgotten passwords. I am, invariably, the one who remembers to bring cupcakes to office birthdays, simply because someone must. My rented, one-bedroom apartment, though meticulously cleaned, likely carries the persistent ghost of coffee past every scrub mug. My savings account is modest, certainly not a fortune, yet it's a quiet source of pride. I pound pavement 3 times a week in discount sneakers whose worn soles emit a distinct squeak. Ask my mother about me, and her immediate response would be, "Evan, he's steady." My brother Luke, 3 years my junior at 29, would probably offer a dismissive shrug and a vague, "Evan's fine." But if you turn the question to me, I'd confess that I've lived most of my life existing squarely in the background. An uncredited extra, the unseen hand holding the boom mic, essential yet peripheral. It wasn't always this way. As a child, I was boisterous. I played the trumpet. I auditioned for every school play and sports team. But somewhere around middle school, I deciphered the unwritten rules of our household. I learned the power of shrinking myself, of making myself inconspicuous so my mother wouldn't fret, my father wouldn't emit that familiar weary sigh. And Luke was destined to dazzle. He was pure, incandescent sunshine. He possessed that infectious grin that earned him an extra scoop of ice cream, that permitted him to waltz in hours past curfew, while I, 5 minutes late, faced a lecture my absence barely registered. Holidays, especially, were elaborate performance art in our home. Flawless stockings, matching pajamas, if Mom's budget stretched that far. "We're making memories," she'd declare, a phrase I knew translated directly to, "We absolutely cannot afford this, but we will pretend." She adored the pretense. It ignited a sparkle in her eyes and quieted my father, a silence she invariably mistook for serene contentment. I, however, understood his stillness. He was mentally tallying mortgage points, calculating cents per gallon, forecasting the inevitable extra shifts he'd need to take on. I'd observe him performing complex arithmetic in his head, a common pastime for some, but for him, a quiet burden. I cultivated an expertise in the supporting roles, the backstage tasks. I mastered wrapping gifts with notoriously sharp corners. I learned the art of rescuing burnt gravy. I meticulously labeled the overflowing boxes stashed in the garage, a veritable second attic. I excelled at all the small, thankless tasks that ensured the grand family production continued uninterrupted. Luke, meanwhile, had a knack for dramatic entrances, arriving just in time to deliver the witty remark that sent everyone into peals of laughter. He wasn't overtly cruel, no. He was simply charming. And in our family, those two qualities, regrettably, often proved indistinguishable. I recount all this not for nostalgia, but so the crushing reality of what came next truly resonates. Which brings us, starkly, to that Christmas morning. Our living room, as usual, appeared plucked from a glossy holiday catalog. We had performed the ritualistic dance the night prior. Carols, steaming hot cocoa, the time-honored tradition of opening a single gift at midnight. I drifted to sleep on the couch, my childhood bedroom long since absorbed in a mom's craft room, essentially a glitter-filled closet. I woke to Mom's gentle humming, the television casting the flickering glow of a simulated fireplace. We assembled. We exchanged strained smiles. We passed around presents, names scrawled hastily, some barely legible. Luke nudged me, a familiar gesture from our shared youth. "Ready," he whispered. My gaze swept over the brightly wrapped bounty. Not a single tag bore the name Evan. My throat constricted, a sudden painful knot. Is there a gift for me?" I managed, aiming for a gentle, almost casual tone. Mom didn't even bother to lift her gaze from the discarded ribbon she was meticulously coiling. Her voice was utterly flat, as if reciting a pre-programmed line from a cracked fortune cookie. "We don't buy things for ungrateful people." And Luke laughed, an actual, derisive laugh. "Santa skipped you on purpose," he chortled. My face flushed crimson. My hands, though physically present, felt utterly, profoundly empty. I merely nodded, turned, collected my coat, and stumbled out into the biting, stinging cold, needing to reclaim my breath in the raw morning air. The very next day, a hesitant knock echoed through my small apartment. It was Luke, his eyes bloodshot, shoulders slumped in defeat. He bypassed any greeting, launching straight into it. "I need $80,000 to save my business." And in that precise moment, a peculiar thing happened. I smiled. Not from amusement, but because something profoundly, irrevocably clicked in my mind. "Write to Santa," I replied, the words a quiet revelation. My family, you see, operates on a well-worn script. I'd memorized it, could recite it in my sleep. Asterisk, asterisk, Act 1, asterisk, Luke embarks on some grand, often ill-conceived venture. Dad cautions practicality. Mom, ever the idealist, coos dream big, baby. I, predictably, remain silent, understanding that I'm the designated repairman for whatever inevitable wreckage ensues, and you can't fix what you've just openly critiqued. Asterisk, asterisk, Act 2, asterisk, predictably, things unravel. Finances dwindle. A dreaded bill arrives, crimson emblazoned. Mom declares, "We'll figure it out." Dad, weary, retorts, "We've figured out 10 times already." My solitary line, "I can help." Asterisk, asterisk, Act 3, asterisk, I do help. I discreetly transfer funds. I meticulously save $10 at a time. I postpone a dental cleaning. I sacrifice a Saturday. I deliver anonymous groceries. I click pay now on someone else's overdue accounts. The symbolic music swells. We collectively feign amnesia. Credits roll. The cycle, inevitably, resumes with the next season. I wish I were exaggerating, truly. The ledger of my family's fiscal dramas is extensive. When Luke turned 21, he acquired a pre-owned BMW with a warranty so flimsy it was comical, claiming image matters in real estate. I, foolishly, co-signed for a single year. He promptly missed 3 payments. I shelled out $1,800 to prevent the humiliating repossession of the car right on Mom's driveway. My money. At 24, he launched a juice bar, all reclaimed wood counters and trendy chalkboard menus. Strategically located in a neighborhood where winter asserted itself for 9 months of the year. I invested $5,000 because we're family. He bombarded me with 6 smoothie name suggestions in a single day. The bar shuttered its doors 11 months later. Those chalkboards? They still reside in Mom's garage, tucked beneath a forgotten quilt rack. At 27, his grand vision pivoted to digital. A website was imperative. I designed and built it after work gratis. I even covered the domain registration for 3 years when he forgot to set up auto-renewal. He never once updated the site. To this day, it proclaims grand opening soon. Through it all, I felt less like a person and more like a human coat rack, burdened by the weight of everyone else's aspirational plans. It was never a singular, colossal demand, but a relentless deluge of smaller obligations, each bearing my implicit endorsement. "You're so good with money," Mom would often remark, a phrase that, in the lexicon of our household, meant you're adept at handing it over. Even our Christmases kept a meticulous, unspoken ledger. One year, Luke unwrapped a coveted gaming console. while I received a clearance sweater still sporting its security tag. I remember painstakingly severing it with wire cutters, Mom airily dismissing it with, "Oh, did they leave that on?" Silly store. Another year, Luke received a temporary loan of my laptop for college. I spent my evenings driving to the community college, typing essays on their library computers, because that temporary loan stretched into 2 years. My father wasn't a villain in this narrative. He was simply exhausted. He worked relentless double shifts, returning home physically sagging, emotionally drained. He'd witness Luke's effervescent grin and Mom's luminous eyes, then offer a weary shrug. "Let them have this," he'd murmur to me in the garage, pressing a trash bag of discarded wrapping paper into my hands, his tone conveying, "I cannot fight two wars simultaneously." Occasionally, he'd surreptitiously press a folded $20 bill into my palm, like a conspirator passing secret intelligence. "For gas," he'd whisper. By last year, I'd learned to anticipate the seismic shifts. Mom would begin her familiar refrain, "Your brother is under immense pressure." Dad would meticulously re-examine every bill. Luke, inversely, would amplify his volume, spin increasingly elaborate tales, and declare, "We're almost there." Last summer, Luke embarked on a consulting company. The business model mutated weekly. "We do marketing," he asserted in June. "We do DDC," he corrected in July. "Now, we run pop-ups," he announced in August, sporting a new logo-emblazoned baseball cap. He constantly invoked "we," yet I never encountered a single other individual. He secured an office, a cramped room above a nail salon, perpetually thin-walled and with a stubbornly jammed window. He plastered social media with images of whiteboards adorned with arrows and corporate buzzwords. He messaged me, "Look at the traction," complete with a screenshot of an email draft. I watched the credit card debt balloon. How did I know? Because my phone number was his designated backup for Stripe account verification. He'd requested it once, in a frantic rush. "I'll change it later," he'd promised. Later never materialized. I'd receive security confirmation texts at 2:11 a.m. and 3:06 a.m. My Fridays became sleepless vigils. In November, Mom called me 3 times within a single day. "Your brother," she effused, "is embarking on something monumental. It's a shot." Her voice held the breathless intensity of a sports announcer, volume stuck on high. "He just needs time. Time or money?" I inquired, a thin thread of patience fraying. "Don't be negative," she chided, then softer. "We might need to move some things around." "Mom," I countered, "I'm not a bank." "Your family," she declared, as if that singular truth obliterated all logical argument. Early December, a text from Luke, "Coffee." He chose a ramshackle spot with wobbly chairs and coffee that tasted faintly of burnt almonds. He sat, unervingly cheerful. "I'm close," he declared. "To what?" I asked, my skepticism palpable. He grinned. "To making it." "How much?" I pressed. "It's not about money," he insisted. Then, 2 breaths later, "It's just the runway is tight." "How tight?" He gazed ceiling-ward, as if the precise figure resided among the dusty light fixtures. "Like 80 what?" I prompted. 80,000, he blurted, rapid fire. "It's bridge funding. Short term. I've got meetings." I slowly stir my coffee. "Luke, I don't have $80,000. He waved a dismissive hand. "You do. Equity in your 401k, adult stuff. You're good at adult stuff." I mentally scrolled through the meticulous line items of my meager budget. Rent, utilities, ramen, the $30 I painstakingly tucked into savings twice a month. I pictured the bald tires on my aging car. I recalled the grueling night I spent on the phone with the bank last year, disputing a charge he'd made on an accidentally linked card. And I simply, definitively, uttered one word, "No." He blinked, as if I'd just addressed him in ancient Sumerian. "What?" "No." I repeated, my voice firm. "Don't be dramatic," he scoffed. "Mom says a lot of things," I retorted, the sting of that Christmas still fresh. We didn't speak for 2 weeks. Then Christmas arrived. You already know that part. The absence of my name on any tag, the callous pronouncement about ungrateful people, his chilling laughter, the raw, cold air, my hands feeling profoundly empty. That night, alone on my couch, I fixated on the ceiling, counting the minute dots in the paint, 173. I couldn't dislodge the memory of Mom's smooth pronouncement, as if rehearsed, nor the echo of Luke's derisive laughter. The next morning, a text. "You home?" Then, the familiar knock. Luke stood there, eyes underlined by exhaustion, a damp chill clinging to his hoodie. "I need $80,000 to save my business," he stated, skipping any preamble. He launched straight into the number, as if ordering a song from a jukebox. "Right to Santa," I repeated, the phrase now imbued with a new, cutting edge. He flinched, then forced a brittle laugh. "Okay, funny, but seriously, is it life or death for your LLC?" I interjected. "For my future," he emphasized. I subtly stepped back, concealing the meager reality of my living room. The thrift store tree, the two gifts I'd bought myself, socks and a cast-iron skillet. "Luke," I said, and a new sensation solidified within me. Not fury, not even sorrow, but a hard, unyielding calm. "No." He surged past me, without invitation, arms outstretched as if bracing for a fall. He began to pace, touching the back of my worn couch as if seeking elusive answers. "Vendors are calling," he rattled off. "Lease, payroll. People depend on me." "You told me you didn't have employees," I reminded him. "I have contractors," he snapped, the distinction trivial. "Semantics." He turned, his face morphing into the practiced mask he reserved for teachers and waiters. "Ev, you're my brother. You know I'm good for it." My mind scrolled through countless instances he'd uttered that exact phrase, usually while casually possessing something of mine. Keys, credit cards, promises. The 7 temporary loans that had morphed into permanent fixtures. The 12 late-night calls, post 11 p.m., each beginning with "urgent." The 36 auto-renewal charges I'd painstakingly canceled, none ever truly mine. I sat down. "I'm not doing this," I declared, my voice flat and unwavering. "I won't liquidate my retirement. I won't take out a loan. I won't co-sign anything. I won't be your safety net." He gaped. "Why are you being cruel?" "I'm not being cruel, Luke. I'm being clear," I stated, unflustered. He snorted. "So that's it? After everything I've done for this family? What have you done?" I asked, not to wound, but to level the playing field, to correct the distorted ledger of our lives. His face flushed scarlet. "Mom needs me. Dad needs me. I keep the energy up. I pay the bills when they can't," I rejoined quietly. He waved a dismissive hand. "Money isn't everything." "Then why?" I challenged. "Are you here?" He finally sank onto the edge of my coffee table, elbows propped on his knees. "I miscalculated," he admitted, defeated. "A couple of contracts got delayed. Investors ghosted because of the holidays. It's optics. If I can just cover January, I'm good." 80,000 is January? I clarified. He hesitated. "Plus some late fees." I let the oppressive silence stretch. My phone buzzed. A calendar reminder, dentist at 2 p.m. I'd already rescheduled twice to play chauffeuring assistant for Luke's big meetings, waiting in lobbies, holding his backpack while he meticulously practiced his confident smile in reflective surfaces. "Ev," he said, his tones softening to a plea. "I'm asking you because I trust you. I used to think that was a compliment." I mused, the words heavy with revelation. Now I realize it means I'm easy. He flinched, as if I'd struck him. "Mom said you'd cave," he muttered, the word a bitter accusation. There was cave. I stood, walked to the kitchen, poured myself a glass of water I didn't need, and returned. My hands were steady. "Luke," I began, "this isn't about revenge. This is about closure." He rolled his eyes, a familiar, dismissive gesture. "Okay, Instagram therapist." "I'm serious," I affirmed. "I'm closing the account. All of it. The loans, the favors, the late-night rides, the forgotten logins. I'm not angry at you. I'm angry at how I taught you to treat me. I taught you." His laugh was sharp, incredulous. "You chose this." "I did. I agree," my voice calm. "I said yes so many times, you simply presumed my yes belonged to you." He rose, pointing dramatically toward the door. "I could find someone else to help," he declared. yet he didn't move. You should, I encouraged. Find a bank. Find a mentor. Find a therapist. Find a job. He opened his mouth, then snapped it shut. His eyes glistened, whether from anger or genuine fear, I couldn't discern. You're really going to watch me fail? He asked, his voice unexpectedly small. I've watched you fail 100 times. I responded evenly. I've just stopped catching you. He shook his head, a mixture of disbelief and resignation. Mom will be furious. She already is, I countered. I can't keep buying my way into being her son. He stepped towards me, then retreated. So nothing. Nothing, I affirmed. I won't give you money. I won't lie for you. I won't co-sign. I won't be your emergency contact for a business. He let out a single, ugly laugh. You'll regret this. I might, I conceded, but I'll regret staying more. He surveyed my modest apartment, as if it had personally betrayed him. I can't believe you, he spat. I can, I replied. He walked to the door, hand on the knob. He paused. Last chance, he hissed, like a cliched movie villain. Not for me, I retorted. He left. The sound of his receding footsteps echoed in the hallway. The door clicked shut. I locked it twice, then sank to the floor, allowing the profound quiet to envelop me like a heavy, self-chosen blanket. The immediate aftermath was a cacophony of digital intrusion. My phone transformed into a small, buzzing animal, demanding attention. Mom called 8 times before noon. I let it ring, unanswered. She left 3 voicemails, each beginning with honeyed concern and escalating into sharp accusation. Honey, call me back. I'm worried. Then, Evan, this is serious. Your brother is drowning. Finally, a chilling, I did not raise you to be cruel. Dad's single text message read, call your mother. I could practically hear his weary sigh resonating between the words. Luke unleashed a relentless barrage of texts. 10:03 a.m. I'm outside. 10:05 a.m. Answer. 10:12 a.m. You don't understand stakes. 10:18 a.m. This is on you. 11:01 a.m. Photo of an overdue notice, expertly cropped to obscure the company name. 11:30 a.m. Fine, forget it. I flipped the phone face down and, for the first time in what felt like forever, simply went to the dentist like a normal, unburdened person. I sat in the waiting room, a stack of ancient magazines on my lap, observing a fake plant coated in dust. A child across from me attempted an ambitious, two-eyed wink, when the hygienist cheerily inquired, So, how was your holiday? I erupted in a spontaneous burst of laughter so raw, so unexpected, it startled her into reflexively checking her sharp instruments. Back home, my voicemail inbox was at capacity. I listened to precisely one. Mom's voice, tight with indignation. You think you're better than us? Then, with a calculated dip in tone, we needed you. She severed the call without a goodbye. I cooked rice and eggs, eating standing up, unwilling to disturb the lingering impression of Luke on my couch. I washed the pan immediately, discarded the egg carton despite its remaining space, and wiped the counter twice, meticulously. Day 2. Dad called, not Mom. She's upset, he stated. I know, I replied. You could have handled it differently, he suggested. How? I asked quietly. Less dramatic, he offered. I said no in my own apartment. I countered. No audience. He sighed. He's under pressure. So am I. I retorted. I've been under pressure since I was 15. He didn't argue. He simply offered his final gambit. Your mother is crying, as if this was the checkmate that cornered my king. I'm not responsible for her tears anymore, I said, surprised by the sudden lightness that sentence brought. On day 3, Luke posted a cryptic Instagram message. A black square, white text. Sometimes the people closest to you do you the dirtiest. A broken heart emoji followed. Mom commented, 3 red hearts. A cousin I hadn't seen in 5 years DM'd me. Y'all good? I didn't respond. I blocked Luke temporarily, just 24 hours, enough time to let my own thoughts surface. The silence was akin to stepping from a cacophonous bar into crisp winter air. The practical fallout, predictably, began with money. My bank issued a fraud alert. Did you authorize a $1,200 charge to Marketing Hub Pro? I shook my head before finishing the text. It was an old card Luke had used for a deposit 2 years prior. I believed that loop was closed. Apparently not. 47 minutes on hold, enduring piano music, speaking to 3 different representatives. No, that's not my charge. I stated 4 times. Please remove the backup verification number. I requested twice. Yes, I'll wait. I affirmed 5 times. I scrawled reference number 84419 on a sticky note, a testament to a mundane adult victory. I checked my 401k, just to confirm. The sum wasn't staggering, but it was mine. I envisioned Luke's eager hands attempting to siphon the $80,000 from it. I closed the tab, then locked my phone, belatedly changing a passcode. Untouched since 2019. I updated my email login, my debit card PIN. Clicking Remove Authorized Users. I saw Luke's name, a ghostly presence. I clicked Remove. A tiny, almost childish thrill shot through me. One less hook in my skin. Day 4. Mom materialized at my apartment, unannounced, as was her habit. 5 rapid knocks. I opened the door, a reflex. She swept in like a localized weather system. Coat off, scarf still on, eyes alight with an almost manic purpose. You're coming with me, she declared. Where? I asked. To the bank, she said. We're going to fix this. No, I stated. She blinked. Come, Evan. Don't start. I'm tired. I'm finished, I countered. She went utterly still. Your brother is drowning. Luke learned to swim by having people perpetually pull him to the surface. I explained. He never learned to float on his own. Don't be poetic, she snapped. I'm not, I replied. I'm done. She scrutinized me, then switched tactics, her voice softening. Baby, we're family. I know, I acknowledged. And family is supposed to be safe, not a credit line. She glanced around my apartment, just as Luke had. You live like a monk, she offered, attempting to shame me into submission. I live like a person who pays for his own life, I corrected. She sank onto my couch, rubbing her forehead. We raised you to be generous. You raised me to be obedient, I retorted, the words escaping before I could reclaim them. Her mouth opened, then closed. Is that what you think of me? I don't think of you as anything, I said, then amended. I think of you as my mother. I love you, but I'm not doing this anymore. She played her final card, tears. If your father dies, how will we survive? A common leap, 10 steps ahead. You'll budget, I calmly listed. You'll downsize. You'll stop pretending Christmas needs a soundtrack and 6 credit cards. My voice neither rose nor trembled. She stood so abruptly her chair scraped. Who are you? She demanded. Me, I replied. Finally, she left without a hug. I locked the door. I brewed tea I wouldn't drink. I sat in the profound silence again, a generator in the next room finally powered down, a constant drone I hadn't realized was there until it ceased. Over the next week, the metrics of my life shifted dramatically. Missed calls, 23. Voicemail saved, 0. Text from Luke, 17. Then 0 after I configured my phone to filter unknown senders. Amounts I didn't pay. $80,000, $1,200, $399, $6,712, $19.99. Amounts I did pay. $62 for groceries, $14 for a thrift store lamp, $29 for a bus fare, choosing to leave my car parked and walk. I began meticulously constructing a new routine, like building a sturdy shelf. Work, run, cook, sleep, repeat. At work, I ceased volunteering for every emergency. I can do Tuesday. I informed my boss. A stark contrast to my old, I can do whenever. He looked surprised then, nodded approvingly. Good, he said. Boundaries. Evenings found me engrossed in cookbooks. I made soup. I ate at my table, phone banished to another room. I washed the pot, letting it air dry without the impatience of a towel. I was in bed before midnight. My sleep tracking watch, a clumsy piece of technology, still felt like a badge of honor as my sleep duration climbed from 5:12 to 7:06 to 7:34. I didn't unblock Luke. I didn't call Mom. I didn't compose a lengthy text explaining myself. I didn't rehearse a dramatic speech. I did nothing. And in that doing of nothing, I realized nothing was the most profound action I could take. On day 9, Dad called again. "I get it," he said, his voice surprisingly low, heavy with uncharacteristic empathy. "Do you?" I probed. "I was the first net," he admitted. "Then I got tired. Then you were old enough." "I'm tired," I echoed. "I know," he replied. "I'm sorry." We sat in shared silence, a moment of fragile understanding, the closest we'd been in years. On day 11, a certified letter arrived. Luke's LLC had officially dissolved. The document was bland, bureaucratic, devoid of emotion. It made no mention of me. It made no mention of Santa. It simply declared, in impersonal government font, that something had irrevocably ended. I placed the letter in a drawer, leaving it slightly ajar. I stared at it, waiting for the familiar surge of guilt to rise, to engulf me like an incoming tide. It never did. What ascended instead was a sensation of pure, untainted air. A month later, I no longer count the missed calls. Mom's texts are briefer now. "How are you?" Dad's appointment. 3 p.m. "We need to talk." I respond to some, ignore others. When I do answer, I use complete sentences, devoid of any financial footnotes. Luke hasn't contacted me directly. I hear about him indirectly, like distant weather reports. A cousin posts a bar photo, Luke visible in the corner, head down. A friend of a friend mentions he's consulting again. Perhaps he is, perhaps he isn't. It's no longer my concern, not my spreadsheet. I still recall that Christmas morning. That brutal line, "We don't buy things for ungrateful people," resonates with an entirely new meaning. I'm not ungrateful. I am profoundly grateful for the lesson it delivered, for the blinding clarity it afforded me. Like a forgotten light abruptly switched on in a room I believed I knew intimately. I did preserve one tradition. In January, after rent was settled and the electric bill paid, I bought myself a small gift. A decent pair of running shoes. They don't squeak. On my inaugural run in them, I circled the park twice. The cold air stung my lungs in that exhilarating, healthy way. I focused on my breath, not attempting to outrun the echoes of old noise. I simply moved. When people discuss boundaries, they often present them as a permanent fence built once and then admired. For me, it's a daily, unwavering chore. I say no, and then I say no again when the request inevitably resurfaces in a new guise. I answer calls when I possess the emotional bandwidth. I let them ring when I don't. I deleted the social media app that kept me passively observing lives people only pretended to live. I prepare my own dinner. I sleep. Sometimes I yearn to articulate all of this to my family, hoping for a moment of comprehension, for them to nod and say, "Oh, of course." But they remain locked in their script. And I am not in this season of their production. This isn't about revenge. This is about closure. I uttered those words to my brother in my living room. Now, I whisper them to myself whenever the insidious tendrils of guilt attempt to creep back, speaking in my mother's familiar voice. Closure wasn't a violent slam. It was a soft, decisive click, a lock turning as locks are designed to do. I didn't save Luke's business. I didn't rescue a compromised holiday. I didn't buy my mother the illusion of feeling she craved. I saved myself. I rescued my own January. I bought my own shoes. I will not co-sign my way into love again. I will not fund someone else's fragile hopes to earn my place at a table that never truly wanted me. I will not be the background hump, keeping their show running while mine remains dark. I love my family, but I am not their safety net. I am meticulously building my own life now, the quiet, almost boring way. One bill paid on time, one steadfast run, one solitary dinner, one honest no. It isn't dramatic. It isn't tragic. It is simply profoundly steady. And if you're curious whether Santa ever wrote back, in a manner of speaking, he did. I wrote the letter myself. I sealed it. I placed it in a drawer. I asked for nothing. Then I walked outside. The air was cold, crisp. The day, unequivocally, was mine. Now, I ask you, what would you have done in my place? Have you ever had to draw an unshakable line with family, even when it ripped you apart? Let me know in the comments below.